Hello, everyone. Welcome back to More Than AWA Ask for Anything, where we chat with innovative leaders in the blockchain industry. Today, we're taking a look at TrustSwap, a very young project that is uniquely different from every other project out there. The founder of TrustSwap, Jeff, he is a blockchain veteran who has built successful projects in the past. Welcome, Jeff. Before we dive into TrustSwap, could you give our audience a better introduction of yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So I got introduced to blockchain when Ethereum was first coming out. And that's really what took me by, that's really what got me excited was Ethereum and the potential for us to be able to redistribute wealth to mass amounts of people and redistribute the power structure of society as well. So I started a couple Facebook groups, one was called Ethereum Investing. That group grew from 12 of my friends up to 30,000 people. I started another group, that one grew to now it's 160,000 people. Now there's an entire Facebook network of 1.6 million people that, I'm kind of managing, overseeing. And that kind of led me to start up Uptrennd, which is right now the most engaged blockchain-based social media platform in the world. Just because of all the issues that I saw with Facebook and even Steam it being quite an oligarchy at the time. So from there, yeah, it just kind of led me down this road of really exploring crypto, and yeah, even the Uptrennd journey and really building that out has led me to TrustSwap today.
I do know Uptrennd is very, very popular, but I didn't know that before Uptrennd you started all these community that has pretty much exploded, and I need to get in there.
Yeah,
but we're talking about
definitely.
Yeah, but we're talking about TrustSwap today. So blockchain industry has evolved a lot, and there's so many projects out there, and we know that there's still problems that is not being solved yet. And so what is the problem, or what are the problems that TrustSwap is trying to solve?
For sure. So yeah, it's multiple problems because TrustSwap is really just taking all of the big gaps that we see in the crypto space right now and just trying to fill those really obvious gaps. So for example, we're building an entire DeFi ecosystem. And the first thing that started TrustSwap was when I was working with Uptrennd, and a VC investor wanted to do an investment for tokens at a discount. And I said, listen, that sounds great, but I want to make sure that you don't dump the tokens. So can we vest this over a certain period of time in a smart contract? What smart contract do you know of? And they said, well, we don't know of one. And I said, well, that's your job. Your job is literally this. And that's the simplest smart contract. What solution do you use? And they said, well, we use a lawyer and it costs 5% of fees. And I said, that's insane. I'm this is such a simple smart contract to lock in tokens and have them vest over a certain period of time. So I'm going to build it. And so that's where TrustSwap was born, out of this need for an escrow service. And then we started going down the road and people started saying hey, did you know you could use this style of smart contract for a lot of other really big gaps in the market? So a couple ones that people are really excited about right now are something called team token lock. So when the team starts the project, the team's tokens are locked. Because right now for a team to lock their tokens, they need to build the smart contract themselves. Could take 2 weeks and dev money, dev hours. And then you need to audit the thing to make sure it's safe. So it's totally unscalable. So we just said, let's make a solution where people could just plug right into it, lock the team tokens. And then again, it kept expanding. People were saying, well, what about investor token locks? So we make sure that the pre-sale investors don't dump. We said, great idea, let's implement it. And then one guy brought up, he's like, what, DAICOs, Vitalik's been talking about event-based payments so that teams only get paid based on them hitting milestones. So for example, if you invest $100,000 into a project, you're only going to have $10,000 pulled from your fund based on this team hitting the milestone. So it totally de-risks the ICO space. Since then, there's been that kind of evolved into the TrustSwap launchpad that I think a lot of people are really familiar with. Those three, the team token locks, investor token locks, and the DAICOs, kind of formulated the first decentralized launchpad. Because again, a massive issue in the industry is that, we saw the IEO boom, but it was all really localized. It was either this is a Western IEO or this is a Eastern IEO. And so what the TrustSwap Launchpad is doing is essentially launching projects globally with global access to capital and global access to marketing and promotions. So it's just a lot more scalable and global, which I'm super excited about. And we have a ton more features. I won't ramble on too much because it's an entire DeFi ecosystem. So I'll just kind of leave it at that. But essentially, we're filling all of these really glaring holes that are just no-brainers. Maybe actually the last one is like gas fees right now. This is an announcement that just came yesterday. It's like gas fees right now are 450 Gwei. I just made a transaction on Uniswap. It cost me $20 US. So we're providing a solution soon that's going to be able to cut gas fees probably by 80%. And that'll be through a secondary swap token. So anyways, I'll leave it at that. I know that was a lot of information.
Yes, definitely a lot of angle you're tackling the problems from, and where we see the 2017 ICO boom, and a lot of people just FOMO'd in without like professional knowledge, and people got burned.
Yes.
And I think event-based or milestone-based payment can help, I think, regulate or make the scene more healthy.
Yes.
And you did mention that their team's trying to write some smart contracts for these kind of functions. Like team will have to spend their dev hours and money to build it out. And even like once they build it, like other people have to vet this code instead of everyone doing their own kind of like custom code. If they say, yeah, we just use Trust solution, and people are like, oh yeah, sure. Like this is like a branded solution, and people are just like, yeah, got it. Like, and here's my money. Yeah,
exactly. So, because we just saw what happened with Yam Finance. You know, there was $500 million that locked into Yam, and because they were unaudited after, what was it, like 24, 48 hours, maybe it was a little bit longer than that, they had a massive governance flaw. And if the code would have been audited, you know, Yam would still be just this monolith of a meme coin right now. But, you know, okay, boom, they had to close down. Now Yam V2 is out. So audits are very important. Otherwise, things can go wrong very quickly.
Yeah, definitely. So what is TrustSwap solution that can benefit users of the ecosystem?
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of benefits for the users of the ecosystem. So whether you're a company that's looking to provide validity to your launch, whether you're an investor or a VC who's looking to, you know, do different peer-to-peer swaps, even on the, like another one that I didn't mention was crypto subscriptions. So if you're a vendor that's looking to accept payments in cryptocurrency, this is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And so there's currently no solution for crypto subscriptions out there. So, you know, if you're in the TrustSwap ecosystem, you can accept payments using this architecture. And then obviously there's a whole bunch of benefits to the tokenomics as well. We reward stakers immensely with all fees that go through the platform. And obviously tokens, 10% are burned and then 10% go to the DAO. So anyone who's within this ecosystem can submit worker proposals to then continue to build out this TrustSwap DeFi ecosystem.
We do know that in the traditional world, there's Patreon, which is like subscription-based payment system. And it's really useful for people in the US because, you know, they ask for credit card or bank account or USD payment, and people just like do it right away. But like Patreon, I don't really see Chinese people using it, partly because it's just not unpopular here, or, you know, Chinese people don't use credit card as much. They use like Alipay or WeChat Pay. And I don't think these are accepted on Patreon. So say if we build like a crypto version of Patreon, this can be really good, especially when the blockchain economy is by default global.
Yeah, and it's not something that we're necessarily looking to like build our own infrastructure, like a Patreon website. But what we're doing is essentially having this kind of like API piece of code that allows anybody to implement it onto any website. So if you have you know, some kind of shopping store, if you have your own website, if you're offering services, you can take this little piece of TrustSwap code, boom, implement it, integrate it on your website. And then now you're able to accept crypto for your services, and you can accept whatever you want. You can accept Ethereum, you can accept USDT, you can accept swap tokens, anything. The vendor gets to choose what they accept as a payment.
Got it. So are we going to see Patreon using your API very soon to take crypto?
We'll see about very soon. That's definitely a goal. You know, I think, you know, methodical steps are very important, but I like for sure, like we're aiming for the big ones. Like we'd love to see YouTube, Netflix, Spotify, like all, like it makes no, like it would make logical sense. Just plug it in. They can accept crypto. It opens up to a whole new world of finance. Obviously, you know, there's a lot of bureaucracy and red tape for those larger ones, and that's going to take time because you need to build a track record, but we're going to start knocking off, you know, the smaller ones. It's a methodical process of growth. So that's the goal for sure. And we'll get there.
Yeah, it's all very exciting. So may I know what's TrustSwap's edge and how has that been reflected in project progress so far?
What we've done in 50 days has been pretty incredible. When we first launched, we were literally just an escrow service. And since then, it's exploded into this entire DeFi ecosystem where there's just a mass amount of community members, supporters, holders, and we're continually expanding. Like just yesterday, we had 3 announcements. So we brought on the second guy to join CoinMarketCap, which in the West is like this largest cryptocurrency website in the world. So he's come on as an advisor. Obviously, as I mentioned before, the swap gas to reduce Ethereum gas fees, we're starting building out with that. And then another huge one, actually, I can't understate how big this is we're building out a decentralized exchange with leverage trading. And so this is going, and we have a completely separate dev team that we've hired to build this out. Then most of the fees that go through this go directly to the swap holders. So I would say our edge is that, well, one, we market like you wouldn't believe. We go really hard on marketing. And 2, we continually innovate, build, adapt, change. And we're actually filling, and 3rd, we're filling incredibly important holes that exist within the crypto space right now. All of the things that we're building aren't just building because, oh, this is a cool idea or this is trendy. Every single one is a massive gaping hole in the crypto space. And we're really excited to really fill those holes and bring in a new wave of mass adoption as this bull market heats up.
Yeah, I was reading at your white paper, but what you just described are like nothing are in white paper yet. So it looks like project has
exactly,
evolved.
Yeah.
It has evolved so much. So what's coming up as next steps on your roadmap, and where do you see TrustSwap 2 to 3 years from now?
For sure. So within the next, right now, we're getting our code audited by Hacken. And so then phase 1 of our launch should be live, I'd say by September 7th. And then so you'll have the team token locks, you'll have the investor token locks, you'll have the escrow services in there. So a lot of stuff is going to be launched within the next week on mainnet. Staking will be going live. So stakers are going to start earning 80% of all transaction fees that go through the network. And then, we're building another thing called we're always building. A lot of dev teams we have hired on is called wrapping as a service. So any token can wrap onto the Ethereum network. So if you're a Neo chain, if you're a Cardano chain, you can then wrap your token, interact with Uniswap, interact with MetaMask, whatever. And so this is very cool for new projects emerging into the space to be able to integrate into the Ethereum ecosystem. And yeah, so a lot of stuff is coming out, but by the end of 2020, we'll have the escrow services, we'll have crypto subscriptions. The DEX might even be out, let's say early 2021, optimistically. So it's just an absolute explosion in the next 3 to 4 years. I'd say, like, what are our goals and achievables? I think we're really looking to be like massive pillars in every single one of these verticals. Like in particular, crypto subscriptions, I feel like this is one of the biggest routes to mainstream adoption to allow people to pay for cryptocurrency in their everyday transactions. So this is really exciting for us.
Yes, I'm really excited about your wrapping service as well, because we do see Ethereum community just blows up, and there's so many people buying tokens on the Ethereum network. Projects on other networks, they're trying to get into this action. Could you give us a hint as to, say, how many projects has approached you for the wrapping service inquiry so far?
Yeah, so wrapping is a little bit further down the line for our roadmap. It's not the most pressing. We've maybe had a dozen of projects kind of inquire about wrapping. The one that has been the most interesting for other projects is the Launchpad. We've had 30 to 50 projects at least approach us to go through the Launchpad, and we're quite picky with who we put through. But the wrapping, it's a little bit more down the road. Like, we don't see it as lucrative as an opportunity for the business and the holders, nor do we see it, especially with ETH gas fees right now at $20 a transaction, something that's incredibly pressing. So we're kind of prioritizing other alternatives first.
Yeah, and one question I have is that, with projects in the blockchain space, oftentimes they're open source, and other times people kind of like look at how it functions and figure out kind of like how the code should be written in the back. So once, say, you get traction, how are you gonna fend off competitors? Could one way be building a network effect, so you get huge and you have this network effect. So what's your strategy on like staying on top of your progress?
Yeah, for sure. And that's a really good question. And I think some people might not agree with this philosophy because we are closed source for the majority of our code. So that's why we're getting the audits, that people can trust these audit firms, trust that the code is safe. Because yeah, in these early stages, like we've been talking about, 50 days old, we need to really establish a firm market presence before we start open sourcing our code, because then anybody can fork it, anybody can iterate on it. And especially right now in crypto, this is the age of the fork. Everything is getting forked off and iterated on. And so we just want to protect and make sure that we're able to scale and establish that firm market presence. So on a timeline on when we're going to go full open source, I wouldn't be able to say. It's really so variable on, how quickly TrustSwap scales, what the state of the market is, what the state of competition is. So yeah, we're kind of taking that month by month, I would say, but for the foreseeable future, we will be closed source with audits.
Got it. And you mentioned briefly previously, but what is the full use case of swap tokens, and how would non-developers want to hold these swap tokens?
For sure, yeah. So again, 80% of all transaction fees that go through the TrustSwap network go directly to swap stakers. So that's a massive benefit. And then also when you're holding these swap tokens, you're able to participate in the TrustSwap Launchpad projects. So all these projects that go through the Launchpad, if you're not holding swap, you're not going to be able to get in on the pre-sale. Also, we have a lot of projects like, that big list who are approaching us. We say, hey, listen, we don't want you to go through the Launchpad. You don't make the cut, but if you want to airdrop some tokens for free to our community, we'll market you a little bit. Obviously not an endorsement or officially standing behind them, but and again, you need to hold swap tokens to be able to receive those airdrops. Finally, it's a governance token as well. So, as people submit these proposals to the DAO, the swap token is used to vote, okay, yes, we want this proposal to go through. No, we don't want this proposal to go through. So there's 1,001 ways that people can earn through holding and staking the swap token. And it's just continually evolving and expanding every day.
It's unbelievable that we talked about so much, yet this project is only 50 years old, 50 days
Feels
old.
like it's 50 years.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for your time. Before we close, any final comments for our viewers in China?
Yeah, I would just love for them to check TrustSwap out. I believe we have our full Chinese translation on both white paper and website live now on TrustSwap.org. So check that out. We should also have Chinese communities live. Obviously, we have the English ones live as well. So just would love to see people get involved, get integrated with the ecosystem. And what TrustSwap is trying to do is bridge the two worlds, West and East. And so I'd love to make that happen.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jeff, and good luck with TrustSwap.
Thanks a lot, Peter.